December storms brought more than 17 inches of rain to California, shattering records, leaving 90% of the state under flood watch. Environmental journalist Blanca Bergeret is here to talk about the insurance dilemma facing so many Californians. So welcome to Bay Area Focus, Blanca.
Hi.
My first question, though, is atmospheric rivers storms, as we mentioned, did billions in damage. How well covered and prepared were our homeowners?
Yeah, so there was up to $5 to $7 billion of damage done in California. And as you said, while 90% of the state was under flood watch, and actually 41 of the 58 counties were under emergency declaration, actually only 2% of all California homeowners had flood coverage. And that's, the vast majority of that is through the National Flood Insurance Program. That's FEMA's national program. And then a small part of it was private, but in general, not well prepared and not well covered.
Is that an education issue? I mean, most homeowners, I think, probably would assume that their home insurance actually covers floods. So why is California so underinsured? And I guess another question, would the recent drought have a part in this?
Right. So I think it's 50% of Americans assume that standard home insurance covers flood, but actually it doesn't. And then also, of course, in California, because we've been in the midst of this multi-year historic drought, the preoccupation has been a lot about the lack of water and not really about flood. And research has shown that in years after floods, insurance enrollments increase. And in dry years, they go down. So that's been the case in California. And then there's also the fact that the FEMA's maps that determine who is required to hold insurance are actually very out of date. So that's kind of part of the picture as well.
And a lot of meteorologists say that when we do get rain, it's going to come in these large waves right now because of climate change. So should people consider getting flood insurance, and how much does that cost?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, people should consider definitely Californians should get flood insurance. Independent mapping, apart from FEMA, has shown that a quarter of the state is in a high flood risk area. And so, yeah, I mean, part of the reason that people don't get it sometimes, if it's not required, is that it can be expensive. I think the average policy in California is between $700 and $800, but that obviously varies depending on your flood risk. But it's definitely recommended to have, and if you do enroll in a policy, it takes 30 days until it actually becomes active. So that's something to consider also, just with the storms ahead.
And what can people expect as far as costs?
So the average cost in California is I think it's like $770. But FEMA basically in the past, over the past year and a half, has been implementing their new flood insurance pricing called Risk Rating 2.0, and so that's supposed to kind of price flood insurance more accurately according to risk, according to new maps. But part of the challenge there is that under this new rollout of this new pricing scheme that's supposed to better reflect flood risk, 73% of policyholders saw a price increase. So, there's things that FEMA does that communities can do and that homeowners can do. If you kind of take steps to mitigate your own flood risk, then that can bring your insurance costs down. But yeah, it can be in the hundreds of dollars per year.
Thank you, Blanca.
Thank you.
You can read more of Blanca Bergeret's work. Visit thegrist.com.